Jurassic Park meets Dinotopia. That sounds actually really fucking cool. The Triassic period, though, that's kind of hard. There's not a lot of dinosaurs, but let me run through a few that maybe will help you. So first up, around 200 million years ago, we had Coelophysis, and one of the larger theropod dinosaurs, Herrerasaurus, but there's debate on whether or not Herrerasaurus is actually a dinosaur. I've heard there's been a few things floating around, so don't take that with a grain of salt. But Herrerasaurus is kind of known as like one of the oldest dinosaurs. Plateosaurus here was one of the first sauropods. Now it's technically a sauropodomorph, which means that it hadn't evolved into what we know as a sauropod. So it's kind of those early stages of long-necked dinosaurs, but this is what they looked like. So those are kind of the main ones that people think of when you think of Triassic dinosaurs. And for the most part, they all kind of looked the same back then because life was just starting to figure out how to morph dinosaurs into what we know of today. The Jurassic period is really where dinosaurs started to get really weird. And then the Cretaceous, obviously, that's when we had a lot of our ceratopsians and stuff like that. But I do have a picture that shows quite a few dinosaurs of the Triassic that include the three that I just showed. Okay, so here are some of the other dinosaurs that were in the Triassic period. As you can see, a lot of them look very much like those sauropodomorphs. Some are just that very basic theropod look. Some of them look like they're about to turn into something like Hypsilophodon or maybe a hadrosaur or something like that. The Triassic period was kind of just barely any dinosaurs, like true dinosaurs, to be honest. A lot of it was taken over by the giant reptiles that were around. And most of these are not even that big. They're pretty small. Plateosaurus is pretty big, but for the most part, these guys are like human-sized, and that's about it. Plateosaurus is a little bit bigger than that, but for the most part, yeah, Triassic dinosaurs, they all kind of have, depending on what they ate, they all kind of have the same look. So there's nothing too fancy about them, but here's a few that maybe you could use. And another thing that sucks about the Triassic period is that it's just so old. It's over 200 million years old. And we just don't have a lot of fossils on these kind of dinosaurs either because they're so old. We have to dig very far down. We have to find the right spot. And when we find the right spot, maybe we'll find a few fossils here and there, very fragmentary pieces. But we never really get like a full skeleton. With Herrerasaurus and Coelophysis. Coelophysis is a very special one. And Plateosaurus and Herrerasaurus. That's why those are kind of the big three of the Triassic, because those are very special dinosaurs that we have found a good amount of specimens to kind of get a better idea of what they look like, as most paleontologists do. When it comes to a species that is pretty fragmentary, you just kind of have to put the pieces together. But the Triassic period is such a weird spot for dinosaurs specifically. As far as I know, there weren't any pterosaurs. And if there were, they were very, very small, very, I don't want to say primitive. There's a different word for that paleontologists use. There's not a lot of derived. That's the evolved version of stuff. There's not a lot of derived dinosaurs and pterosaurs and stuff that we know. You got to wait for the Jurassic period for that. And that was like, oh God, that was like another... what was it, 45 to 50 million years? Something like that. Close. There was an extinction event after the Triassic period that brought up the Jurassic period, so can't really remember what that was. But, yeah, to get some really crazy and weird looking stuff when it comes to dinosaur, I guess, designs, you gotta wait for the Jurassic for that. So just know that when you're doing this island, a lot of the dinosaurs aren't gonna be super big. You're not gonna have any fun looking ones. And for the most part, most of them are just kind of look the same.